Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. I'm Erin, and if you're new here, welcome. Today we're going to be creating a winter Christmas themed slimline card. I have a few products out on my desk already that I'm going to be using. This is the Floral Snowflake stamp, and from the new catalog, I don't know if you guys caught my catalog walkthrough yet that just was up on Friday, but this was one of my favorite stamp sets, and everything shaded in this kind of greenish color has a coordinating thin cut. So pretty much everything except for this little, maybe little snow dusting there does not have a coordinating thin cut. Now, close to my heart stamps are available with or without the dies. Normally, they all come bundled in one package, making it super convenient, but this was a large die set, which doesn't quite fit in the packet. So, you could just store them together, but they do come on these magnetic sheets, and you can see all of those gorgeous snowflake dies and the border piece here. And they're called floral snowflakes because they have a really cool botanical look to them, which I don't know if you can see that when I hold up that one especially. It's a snowflake, but they're like leaves. Very cool, very unique. In the November-December 2021 catalog, you can find those in the back on page 32. You can see they've used them here to embellish a scrapbook layout, which looks really cool, and they've paired it with this classic flourishes, and those just go kind of hand in hand with the snowflakes, so very pretty. Now you'll see on for today's project, I'm using Wisteria, which is kind of fun because usually for my winter themed cards, I gravitate towards blue, glacier colors like that, but we're going to use Wisteria. So I've cut a card panel here. We're going to be making a classic slimline. I have a pre-scored card base from the Slimline Cards and Envelope Value Pack, and that makes it super easy. I did cut this down. So this is 8.5 by 3.5, and I've cut this to 3 3/8 by 8 3/8 to give this tiny little white margin around the edge there. So we'll set that aside for now. I'll show you guys really quick. My inspiration for the Wisteria came from this Wonderland paper pack here, and you can see this is a really fun winter themed paper pack, and they have the Wisteria color as one of the main colors featured in this paper collection, which I thought was so fun. So that's kind of where I got the inspiration to use this color. We're going to be doing some embossing today, so I have the VersaMark ink and the Ranger Super Fine Detail White Embossing Powder, so we'll need both of those. I also have my little anti-static powder tool to remove the static from the cardstock here, so give that a really good dusting before you start embossing, and that will make sure that your embossing powder does not stick where you do not want it. I'm going to set these to the side for a moment. So I already placed my snowflakes on acrylic blocks, so they're ready to go, and then I'll stamp a couple and kind of heat emboss as I go. We're going to use the various snowflakes and do some random stamping on the upper portion of the card, kind of framing it in a little bit. So I've inked up this large snowflake with my VersaMark ink, and I'm stamping that off the edge of the paper. I'm going to re-ink it a second time and over to the right hand side of the card, but I'm tilting it a little bit so we have a slightly varied orientation from the first one. Now I don't want this to dry, so I'm going to apply my white embossing powder to these images, and then I'll heat set those and then continue on with the other snowflakes. This is essentially a one-layer card, but it is so pretty and really has a lot of drama and the wow factor with this gorgeous heat embossing, and then we're going to add some ink blending also. Now, I originally saw a card very similar to this over on the Altenew channel. Jennifer designed a card using flowers, and I immediately thought, snowflakes. I have to recreate this card with snowflakes. So I will link that card in the description box below in case you haven't seen that as well. Whenever I'm random stamping on a project, I like to start with the largest element first and then work my way down, filling in the nooks and crannies with the smaller images. It's much easier that way to get a balanced finished look. If you have some stray embossing powder, you can sweep that away with a little paintbrush. And again, I'm just going to set these and we're almost done. I am keeping the center clear and the bottom. So it'll just be framing in the top and side edges, left and right edges of the card. I just got done participating in the 31 Days of Christmas cards with the creative design team, and I learned so much. It was awesome. We had a video, 31 videos, 31 cards. Actually, there were more because many of the projects featured different variations of the card. There were also gift card holders and tags, so many creative ideas. And I'm sharing this with you guys because as of November 1st, enrollment has officially reopened for a limited time. So I will have that information listed below. It feels pretty good having a jump start on my Christmas cards. So I got everything cleaned up a bit, and I'm going to bring in my all-purpose mat because we're going to do some ink blending on this card around the edges. Now, I have been asked a couple times recently, so I thought I would share this again, how I store my little ink pad circles. So I only have about 4 or 5 of these Ranger handles, and then the foam comes off. So each color of ink I have has its own circle foam, and when it wears out, that you can buy replacement foams. But I have these tiny little bags that I ordered on Amazon. They're 2x2 zip top bags, and I label them with my Dymo label maker, and they sit in this little acrylic tray that I got at Lowe's, I believe, in the closet section, and it works really well for storing my ink pads. I don't close the bags because they just sit upright. Someone had suggested they were worried about them kind of, mildewing in there, but I haven't had any problems. I've been using it for a while. So that is how I store my ink foams for my color. I don't have a handle for each color because I have a tiny craft room, and that would take up a lot of shelf space. For my ink colors, I have Wisteria and Black Soot Distress Oxide. The Wisteria ink is, now I didn't mention I stamped and embossed my snowflakes on the lighter side of the Wisteria cardstock. Close to my heart cardstock is two-toned. You have the darker and then a lighter shade on the opposite side. So it's like 2 colors in one. So to get more of a contrast with my ink, I stamped on the lighter side, and now I'm using the same Wisteria ink and going around creating kind of a vignette coming in from the edges. Again, I'm leaving that center space open, and using colored cardstock and then adding ink shading to the edge is a super quick way to get this look. Otherwise, you could, ink up the entire card, which would take quite a bit of time. So this is kind of a little shortcut here. I'm adding a little bit of black, just ever so slightly, to the very edge and corners of the card, just to give it a little bit more drama and pop. When I'm adding a couple different colors, I always like to go back with the original color and just blend it out for one final touch, which is exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just going over that bottom and then the edges with the Wisteria, blending that all out. Now I'm going to wipe off the embossed areas because that will resist the ink and bring that white color back out. I have the Dina Wakley gloss spray in white. I'm bringing in my splatter box. This is just a box that we call them pizza boxes. My order came in and I save it for projects that are messy like this. I'm just tapping that off so I don't get any big drops. And then I'm splattering my card here, and it just gives the look of snow flurries coming down, which is really beautiful with those snowflakes. I'm showing you again, there's this Joy thin cut in the back of the catalog, and I'm using that for my sentiment. I have 2 pieces of black and 1 white. I'm going to layer those up. So I'll go ahead and die cut these off camera really quick, and then I will show you how I'm going to adhere those together. So the 2 black ones are the bottom layer, and that's going to give it some kind of dimension. It would be very difficult to put foam tape on the back of this. So I just cut several of the die cuts. I like to use 3, sometimes even 4, to give it more presence on the card. And I'm going to adhere the white here slightly askew so it gives more of a dramatic shadow. And you'll see what I mean here in just a moment. Rather than lining it up, I'm actually shifting it to the right just a little bit. So when you use the liquid glue, it allows you to slide that. And I want to make sure it's evenly spaced. It's kind of hard to appreciate on camera, but you'll see what I mean when I hold it closer up. I'm putting a block on that so those dry together, and I'm going to adhere our card panel that we created to my Slimline pre-scored card base. Aren't those snowflakes gorgeous? Ooh, I just love them. It makes me excited for the change of the season, but I'm like, wait, we just got into fall, so maybe the snow could hold off for a little while. So I'm just getting that nice and evenly spaced with the white margin all the way around. And now my sentiment is dry, so I'm adding a little bit more of the liquid glue to the back here. I like this clear Tombow glue for this application because it goes on nice and thin and dries clear. I'm going to hold that with my tweezers just to make it easier to visualize the center without my hand in the way. And we're just going to put that right in the center of the card and see how our snowflakes kind of frame in our sentiment. Now, no card's complete without a little sparkle, right? I have the new pickup tool. This is wax, and you just sharpen it when it starts to lose its tackiness, but it is perfect for picking up sequins and little gems like this. So this is the blue Belle sequins. If it's still available, I will link it in the description box below along with all the other products I used today. But I'm adding them in odd numbers, so I think we're going to go with 7 here. And this card is done. I do have a couple other variations to share with you, so hang tight for those. But isn't that pretty? So that's the wisteria. I also created it in sapphire blue, which really is dramatic. And I love that sapphire color. And just for fun, I thought, why not go with the color of the year, wildberry? Now, for my shadow behind the sentiment, I used wildberry glitter paper. I know that's hard to see, but that looks pretty cool in person also. I hope you guys were inspired by today's projects. And just a reminder again that the registration has reopened for the 31 Days of Christmas cards, along with 31 videos full of inspiration, tips, and techniques. You will have a PDF printable with color photos and instructions and supply list for all of the projects. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye.